from Texas, but I am now because I've lived there since 1977. And one of the first things that I learned from Texans is they think everything is bigger and better, right? And I heard this interesting story from a woman that owns a travel agent. And I was telling her, I said, you know, it's interesting that some Texans tend to be a bit precocious. She said, oh, can I tell you about what just happened? She said, I was taking a group of people on this tour of the beautiful United States. And we had people from all over the country. But there was this one Texan fella. And he was a good old boy, and she kind of talked and described him. And she said, Valerie, no matter where we went, no matter what beautiful part of the country we were in, I would make point of how wonderful that monument or what have you was. And everywhere we go, he would say, it's bigger and better in Texas. It's bigger and better in Texas. Oh, she said, I got so frustrated. Well, we ended up at Niagara Falls. And I looked at that majestic Niagara Falls, and I turned to him and I said, now, you know there's nothing bigger and better in Texas than this. He said, no, but we got plumbers that can fix it. Some of them just aren't ready to give up. Another thing about your image is when you communicate with someone, not to wham them. This says W-A-M. What about me? What about me? What about me? Now, I didn't hear anybody whamming anyone at the dinner last night, but a wham is like this. Oh, hello, how are you? My name is, let me tell you all about me. And they proceed to tell you all about them. In other words, it's a one-way communication. Do you see this when you go to events and don't know anyone, and you're introduced to someone, and they do all the talking? How many of you say, yes, I hear whams all the time? I do too. That's why I make a point of it. It can derail a professional image like that. One time I went to a professional speakers conference, and you know, those of us who do this for a living sometimes get precocious. I hate it. But I had a colleague that didn't hate it. And I had not seen this man in several years. And I went up to him and I said, oh, hey, it's so good to see you. How are you? And he proceeded to tell me. He proceeded to tell me how many things he was doing, how much money he was making. And I wanted to go. But I just smiled and walked away. But I was so frustrated. I went into the next session and I sat down next to someone. I said, you know, I teach this stuff. Etiquette and image and professionalism. And I'm stumped. I don't know what to say to someone like that. And he said, well, why don't you just turn to him and say, you know, that's funny, that's what you told me last time. Now, I could never say that. All I do is smile and say, it's so nice to talk with you human beings as soon as possible. But we do get whams. In fact, cute story about that. Isn't this the most precious little red-headed grandchild you've ever seen? I always have her in my speeches because I want her to be with me. This is Cameron, and she loves to have her picture taken. So recently we went out to the park, and I had my little digital camera, and it's such fun for a little toddler because I can take the picture, and then she will run up and she'll look at it knowing it's an instant picture, and she sees herself, right? And so we were taking pictures, and she turned to me and she calls me Momo. She said, Momo, I want to take your picture. I said, oh, okay. So I posed, gave her my little camera. I ran over as if I could hardly wait to see it. And I got down to her level, and I looked at it, and I looked at her, and she was frowning. And I said, well, honey, it can't be that bad. She said, there's no me in it. Aww. Great story, right? Now, that's a toddler statement, but that's not a good statement for any of us to have. So, point well made.